fastest driver in today's final practice before the Daytona 500, Brad Keselowski, driver of the number 6 Ford for RFK. Brad, thank you for spending some time with us. If you don't mind, just talk to us a little bit about this final practice and kind of your team's approach to the race tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, we made some really good improvements. We were super strong here last year for the 500, and when we fired off the duels, we weren't where we wanted to be. So made some adjustments and kind of went back to where we were for last year, and then got even better from there. And feel really good about it. You know, you come here, and there's no guarantees of any success, but there are things you can do to help your position. And of course, executing the race and having good speed are always good things. So I think we found a little more speed, and feel really good about our ability to execute the race. And we'll see if the other pieces come together, but really pleased and looking forward to tomorrow.
All right, we'll now go to questions. We'll take as many questions as we can in the time that we have. I see we have several hands up. We're going to start with Dustin, go to Bob, and then up to Reed.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Brad, you started a legacy at Team Penske in a lot of ways, but certainly with Speedway racing. No other organizations won at least one Daytona Talladega race each of the last 9 years. And I'm curious about, Ryan Blaney talked about just like the debriefs and how he would just sit in there and just soak it all up. And certainly we've seen what Joey's been able to do, what you did, what Joey's done, what Ryan's done, what Austin's done. One, what does that legacy mean for you, even though you're with a different organization? And two, how have you seen Ryan take what you guys have learned with you and Joey and applied it to where he's had success on this type of racing?
Yeah, it was a really good run of 9-10 years, like you said, and probably still counting for them. And I was glad to be a part of it. I hesitate to say I was the main point. I think all the drivers came together and really brought something to the table. But I think there was a huge cultural transformation that was a part of, for sure. That went from hey, Speedway races are just where we go to wreck 4 cars a year, to hey, let's go here and try to win the race. And that naturally inspired and bred confidence in the drivers and the teams to really focus on it and spend the time to whether it was with the car prep or the studying that needed to go with it, be able to put themselves in a position to where when luck didn't go against them, you could win the race. So that's really where you want to be at these play tracks. You want to be where if you don't have bad luck, you can win the race. And I think there's a lot of philosophies in the teams that are probably the opposite of that, where if we get good luck, we can win the race, which is fine, and sometimes candidly that works just as well, but more often than not it doesn't, and you can control some of these races. And so I think that they certainly have got themselves in a really good position to run well for years to come with the drivers and the culture that they have there. And I don't know anyone could argue against Penske having the best week in and week out, or I shouldn't say week in, week out, but yearly super speedway program based on the results. But certainly we're trying to replicate that with the things that we're doing at RFK, and I think Chris Buescher is doing a really good job as well. Probably doesn't get enough credit for where he's at as well. So I would look for probably the 5 of us to all be in position to win the race tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to Bob and then Reed.
Bob Parker, Fox Sports. The Fords and actually all the manufacturers had an opportunity to tweak the nose for this year. Have you noticed any difference in how your cars draft as Fords and/or what the other manufacturers are doing?
No, I don't think there's a big difference there, Bob. I think maybe the Chevys are a little bit better for qualifying, and maybe the Fords are a little bit better to race. But that's comes with intention. I think the OEMs pick that themselves, not necessarily NASCAR. But it certainly is interesting to watch it all play out. But I don't feel like it's a big deal with the way the cars drive or anything like that. I think the people that like to chase the numbers in the wind tunnels maybe feel a little bit better, but on the track, I don't see it being a big difference.
All right, Reed, go ahead.
Reed Spitzer with the NASCAR Wire. As a corollary to that, was there anything in particular that you as a group of Ford drivers needed to find out? Because I think 5 different Ford teams, only a handful of Chevys. only Toyota out there was ready doing pit practice. And, any particular reason why the Fords went out in a group like that, and why wasn't your teammate involved?
Yeah, I mean, the best practice is not when you get it right, it's when you can't get it wrong. And, I think we're practicing to where we can't get it wrong and looking for any little hole in what we have to be able to remedy it. And so, I think Chris's car was dialed in really well, and they were in a great spot, and they still are in a great spot. I was a little less happy with mine and wanted to try to find something, so happy to put that work in this morning to see if we could find a read, and I feel like we did.
All right, next we're gonna go to Claire, to Chris, Jacob, and then Kelly, and then I know I have a few others, so I'll get to you guys as well. Go ahead.
Claire B. Lang, Series 7 NASCAR Radio. Brad, how soon did you know that your car is good? You guys were really working at it. You come here, you reevaluated things, and you didn't have a practice before the duels. You raced then you had practice today. And how much then will you only find out during the race?
Yeah, well, the Daytona 500, once you get in the race, is a different animal. It's, it'll be a little warmer than obviously it is this morning, come race day, and you transition from day to night, which is a big deal for the cars and the way they drive. In the daytime, it's more about handling. In the nighttime, it's probably a little bit more about just the raw speed in the car. So you really, in order to be good here, you need to have both. You need to have the raw speed and the handling if you're going to be in position to win this race without catching some extreme luck event like we were talking earlier. So you try to work through those things, and like I said, I knew in the duel we didn't have what we needed to win the race with both of those, and so we put in effort today and tomorrow to make sure we could, and I feel much better about it.
Chris, go ahead.
Hey Brad, Chris Gollin from News Daytona Beach. I'm over to your right. So you, in your career, you've got on the plate tracks a lot of success, but you have 6 wins at Talladega. Right over here.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Hey, yeah. Yes, you have in your career you have 6 wins Talladega, and then you have 1 regular season win here, and you also have the dual win as well. I was wondering if you could expand upon, for 2 tracks that get lumped in together so much. Could you just kind of unpack the difference in how they race that would cause you to kind of have an easier time at one versus the other?
Yeah, I mean, the Daytona 500 to me over the years, it has probably been more focused on the speed of the cars and the willingness of the drivers to really make bold moves. And I think accordingly, I just haven't been able to close the 500 out. We've had really fast cars and caught some really poor breaks, and then there's been some races where I felt like I didn't execute a high enough level. I think there's probably a little mixture of all those things on, why I haven't been able to win this race. But, Talladega, there's probably been some races that, candidly, I didn't execute at a high enough level and caught some breaks, and then just haven't caught the break here. And, there's the kind of the old Indianapolis saying, I think, that you don't win the Indy 500, the Indy 500 kind of picks the winner. And sometimes it feels that way here, that, the winner of this race, if you go back and watch kind of like the last 3 or 4 laps, like the winner is usually decided, at least for the Daytona 500, by the move that the 3rd and 4th place car makes almost every year. And you can't drive the 3rd and 4th place car and the 1st place car at the same time. So, that said, you're at the mercy of that car. And I feel like to some degree you are at Talladega, but probably to a lesser degree. And it's easier to manipulate the 3rd and 4th place car at Talladega than it is at Daytona. And so when all those pieces come together, I guess my individual breakdown of it is I haven't had the right 3rd or 4th place car behind me when I've been in the spot to win the race, which is part of the frustration that comes with it. So, but that'll be what to look for Sunday. Like, if I'm a fan in the stands and I'm watching the field go under the white flag, I'm not looking at the leader. Like, the guy who's running 3rd or 4th is going to decide who wins the race. The move he makes, who he goes with, what he does, will impact or determine the winner. And so that's just not something you can control. You can only drive 1 car at a time, but you hope to be fast enough that that person decides to go with you, or decides that he has his best opportunity with you, or that he just quite frankly has the speed to do it.
So that being said, do you prefer when the white flag goes in the air, would you rather be the lead car, or would you rather be the third and fourth place car?
I mean, there's a million different variables that go into that. You know, generally speaking, it's usually the best idea to be the leader on the last lap. But you know, every race is a little different how it plays out, and how you can control it. You know, generally the single file races, you certainly want to be the leader, but you know, the double file races where you got the field 2 by 2 by 2, maybe not. So, you know, I don't think there's a answer to that question that's you know, always going to be 100% right.
Thank you, Brad.
No problem.
All right, we're gonna come over here, we're gonna go to Jacob, to Kelly, and then we'll go over here to the left, and then we'll end back in the back. Go ahead.
Jacob Seaman, 77 Sports Media, PeakInTheTires.net. Brad, I know we hear these two words talked about a lot, but even though it was less cars than we, expect to see in a draft practice, was that one Ford? Are we going to see, Mark Rushbrook was in here yesterday and talked about it, are we gonna see it play out like we have the last couple of years come Sunday afternoon?
Most likely. I mean, I think the Fords have done an excellent job of bringing, a lot of depth to the racetrack. You look at the depth that they have, and I don't think it's rivaled by any of the other manufacturers in the quality of cars and drivers that they have. And so when the Fords get together, I mean, we can be, especially at a race like this, pretty much unstoppable. And so it doesn't mean you can't lose a race. Like I said, there's a million ways to lose it, even with having the fastest cars and the best drivers. But certainly puts you in a position to control the race.
You personally, you've talked about this before, being close at times here, how many ways you've not been able to get the deal done. Is this the last missing link? I mean, as far as your Cup career?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the last crown jewel I don't have. I've got the championship and the Brickyards and the Coke 600 and the Southern 500 and the Bristol night races and the Talladegas, and those they mean the world to me. They really do. But the Daytona 500 is it's still our biggest race of the year, no matter how you look at it. And it still stings to not have it. It stings to have been so close in so many different ways. And I'm not Dale Earnhardt in 1998 or anything like that, but I feel like we're due probably more than anyone else to win this race. And that means nothing when you got on the racetrack. Nobody cares. The other drivers don't care. The other teams don't care. They're all out there to win it for their own, and you've got to go earn it. So. All I know to do is just to continue to run up front, be in position, not have to count on lucky breaks, and hopefully they go our way, or at least we don't get any bad breaks.
All right, Kelly, go ahead.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Brad, you said on Media Day, I believe it was, that it's been painful over the years to leave here without the trophy.
Yeah.
Does that get worse every year, especially?
It don't get better.
Right, well,
Yeah.
as the years go on, does that get worse, especially when you keep bringing fast cars?
Yeah, you just feel like you're in position and it doesn't happen. And yeah, I mean, it's super painful. The closer you are to winning the race, the more painful it is. And the last 3 years, we've been either leading or second place in the last few laps. And so you're right there. You know that it's like just barely out of reach. And so that certainly builds a frustration. We came down here a couple of years where we weren't even close. And you left here going, well, that sucked, and it didn't hurt as bad. It hurts a lot worse to be close. The Olympic saying is the worst thing you can do is get a silver, right? Bronze, you're happy you get a medal, and the gold, of course, you're happy to lead. But silver, you're that close, and it just didn't happen. And I feel like I've got a lot of Daytona 500 silvers. So, we're really hopeful that we can lead with the big trophy this time.
We always hear drivers talk about how they remember the ones that got away, like any race, they remember races that got away more so than the victories. When it comes to this race, is that even truer? Can you?
Oh yeah, 100%. I could pick down the last 12 years here of, this didn't go right, there was nothing I could do different, or this didn't go right and I maybe should have made a little different move here or there, but that's how it goes.
All right, go ahead.
Hi, Brad. Nice Hi Brad, I'm over here, Scott Morgan, Ross, South Florida Tribune.
Neck tested me.
There you, yeah, I got to kind of use that thing a little bit, but anyway, it's nice talking to you, Scott, South Florida Tribune. Let's talk about the race strategies per se. I know this track has been known to have an accident or two here and there, but at what point does drafting come into play during the race where you find your drafting partners and when you know that you rely on these people to try to help you? So, as you so-called say, I only got the silver and I'm looking for the gold.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, I mean, if you're looking when drafting matters, I mean, it matters the second we run under the green flag, but, you know, as far as finding the right partner, you know, that's super dynamic. And, you know, you look at scenarios like we have 2 cars here with RFK.
Right.
And certainly I'm gonna do my best to work with my teammate, Chris Busher, but if anything happens to him or me, like, you've gotta find a friend quick.
Right.
And, you know, that can create some strange bedfellows, and always has and probably always will here at these tracks, but, you know, it's a dynamic race. There's always gonna be a lot of attrition. You start 40 cars and at the end there's probably 10 to 15 that really have a shot at winning it. And so you wanna be, you wanna have a friend in that 10 to 15 that's left at the end, and there's a good chance it's not gonna be the guy you had as a friend to start.
Yeah, so you're alluding to the end of the race at 10 to 15, is that correct?
Yeah.
And I know Roger Penske owns the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You've conquered that, okay? But can you compare and contrast Daytona versus Indianapolis, knowing that you have 2 iconic tracks
Yeah.
on this circuit? I mean, winning at Indianapolis had to be great, but then winning here, which would you find more meaningful?
Oh, I mean, well, I already have Indy, so, you know, once you have something, you want something you don't have, right? Isn't that life? So, I mean, you know, in the moment, I would naturally answer that Daytona would be the one that stands out to me, but, you know, hopefully 20, 30 years from now, when I'm in a rocket chair, they'll probably both hold.
And finally, which track would you say between Indianapolis and Daytona is a bit more challenging for you or any driver?
Well, I think Indy's more challenging as a driver, but Daytona's more challenging overall because you have all these aspects of, you're trying to not just drive your car, you're trying to drive the field's car. You know, every move you make to run these races, it's not about you, it's about the person you're around. Like, you know, Indy is like this really challenging game of solitaire, and you know, Daytona is this really challenging game of poker. You know, they're still 2 good card games, but you play them completely differently. And one's more about your, you know, kind of your individual talents, and the other's more about your ability to manipulate everyone else. And Daytona is certainly the you know, the poker game.
So does Roger Penske give you that extra pat on the back when you win over at Indianapolis?
I think he gives everybody a pat on the back. Yeah, you know, Indy's a big track to him, and always has been. You know, from his days as a child and going there with his dad, and you know, he could tell stories that far surpass my storytelling ability about Indianapolis. But you know, they're 2 great tracks. We're so fortunate here in the United States to have 2 tracks like that. You know, as of late, I've been meeting a lot of people that are European, and they're just blown away by the motorsports facilities we have here in the United States. And not just, you know, the quality of Daytona or Indy, but the depth of facilities we have. We're very fortunate as motorsports fans, enthusiasts, what have you, to have these level facilities, and that's not lost on me.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna take our final question here in the back.
Kenneth Bueno, South Florida Media Network. Brad, in the coming up this year, it's going to be the sophomore year of the next gen car, sophomore year of your co-ownership at RFK. What is that energy like for you and your team going into this year's 500 compared to going into last year's?
You know, I think, you know, obviously a lot less of the uncertainties, but you know, I feel pretty good about a lot of the things we've got going on. Our team dynamics are significantly improved. We continue to make changes at RFK to you know, bring out the best talent and best you know, supporting tools to be successful. And we've got a lot of systems that were clearly deficient last year, and were really hard to fix and replace mid-season, that we were able to you know, take a good whack at here during the off season. And be interesting to see them come online. You know, I kind of have lived this experience before. You know, 2010 when I came to Penske was pretty much a nightmare season. You know, I think every headline I wrote was how big a mistake it was for me or read was how big a mistake it was to leave Hendrick and all that. And then 2011 started, and we were able to use that off season to make significant changes to our cars and to our real overall approach and culture. And I feel that same thing here. In 2011 at Penske, halfway through the season, we started winning races and became the team that we wanted to be. And I feel very much on that same path here at RFK. It's just so hard to get anything done in under 18 months. But I feel really similar timeline-wise and culturally what I'm seeing with the company as it continues to grow and evolve. So I'm as eager as anyone to get out here and go race, because it's a chance to kind of prove ourselves, prove our own merits, and we've got a lot to be proud of and a lot that I'm sure is going to challenge us along the way, but overall exciting to see.
Thank you, Brad.
All right, Brad, thank you for spending all this time with us this afternoon. We really appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck tomorrow on the Daytona 500.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.